Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, what's going on?
Not much, Swebb. Jingle bells. Ho, ho, ho.
Jingle bells. We're about a week out from Christmas. Are you excited?
For Christmas? Yeah, I'm excited, Swebb.
Well, what's that reaction for?
That's for you. That's for you kids. You know, as you get older, it's not that exciting anymore, Swebb.
But we're going to be spending time together as a family. It's not just about opening presents. It's about all the time spent together.
Are you trying to say that I'll be able to spend more time with you, Swebb?
If you're lucky. If you're not annoying enough.
We'll see what we can do. I'll try to tame it down, Swebb.
We can go to the gym together.
Jim who?
Gym. GYM.
No. The only Jim I know is JIM.
We can go for a walk. WALK. Walk.
NO. No.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get you out there if I have to throw you over my shoulder.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'd love to see that.
All right, so what is going on? It's a slightly better week than it was last week, mainly because I've come to terms with the reality. The reality of the situation is only one of my teams is really good right now. So I've come to terms with it. Sometimes you just need to let it all out, and then you need to just move on. Move on to the next thing.
I was starting to get worried about you last week, Swebb. You were out on the ledge. I thought you were going to jump.
Well, luckily, the Juan Soto news going to the Mets, I quickly got over it when I saw that he's about 6 months pregnant. And
Who's 6 months pregnant?
Juan Soto. Did you see the images of him in the Mets jersey?
He's partying a little too much.
He had a stomach that looked like you on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, that's only on Thanksgiving Day. That's just one day. That's one day a year.
Yeah, his was prolonged. He had a prolonged Thanksgiving. He's obviously been eating well since he signed his deal with the Mets. And at the end of the day, hey, you were right. If he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him. But the Yankees are making moves. So in the past week, they have signed Max Fried, starting pitcher from the Atlanta Braves, for an 8-year deal, $281 million. I'm a little concerned about the deal because it hasn't been announced by the Yankees. It hasn't been formally announced. He hasn't been formally introduced to the New York media and the fans, but that deal is done. And they also traded Nestor Cortez and one other player to get Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers, who had a little over a 1.2 ERA in 2024, 14 saves. So the Yankees may have not got Juan Soto, but they've shored up their bullpen a bit and their starting rotation.
Well, Williams is a tremendous reliever. If you skip that last game against the Mets in the playoffs where they lit him up, there's rumors that he was tipping his pitches. I don't know how true that is, but and Max Fried is one of the best pitchers in the National League, so he has to pass his physical. Not until they pass their physical, and maybe he was on vacation. Who knows? So maybe they get him in, take his physical. And
I would like to think that he could fly back private to take the physical and be formally introduced as a New York Yankee for $281 million. So hopefully there are no medical concerns there. That's the only thing. Typically you don't see it take a week's time from announcing a free agent signing, to introducing them to the media and doing all the photos and all of those things.
Maybe his wife said, listen, we're on a vacation. We haven't had a vacation all year. And, you could take care of that business later on. I'm more important right now.
I think his wife probably said, for $281, we can live on vacation for the rest of our lives and be just fine.
No, he's got to at least show up and play.
Well, she can be on vacation
Yeah.
for the rest of her life. God bless. So Max Fried, he was 11-10 in 2024. ERA was around 3.25. So now you add that to Garrett Cole, who had injury issues in 2024, but is a former Cy Young Award winner. Carlos Rodon, Luis Gil as the AL Rookie of the Year, and Clark Schmidt, who's also injured, but when healthy, was a really effective starting pitcher. And now you've got yourselves a very good rotation of starting pitchers.
Yep, real solid. A lot of experience. You have two younger guys, but a lot of experience at the top end of the rotation, and a lot of strikeout pitches. And Fried isn't a tremendous strikeout pitcher, but he's a tremendous ground ball pitcher and soft contact. Now the Yankees have to upgrade their offense and upgrade their defense, especially at third base and first base, and they need another outfielder.
Ground balls aren't bad, especially in a small ballpark. I remember the days of Chien-Ming Wang. He was a ground ball pitcher, and those games usually were over in about an hour 45. So I think this is a huge signing for the Yankees. Hopefully they formally announce him this week. The bullpen, getting Devin Williams, a legitimate closer. I think there's still a few moves that they can make, some free agents maybe that they can sign there. And then there's talk of first base and potentially trading with the Cubs to get Cody Bellinger, former NL MVP.
That would be great. He's a very good defensive outfielder. He's a lefty bat with power. He's athletic. He's a good base stealer. He can play first base. He can play center field. He can play left field.
So if they're able to pull off that trade, and I've heard there's some moves being made, the players seem to have been agreed upon as to who's moving where. It's just a matter of how much of the salary, I think it's about $52 million, that the Cubs are going to cover versus how much the Yankees are going to cover. But that outfield looks pretty good now. You'd have Aaron Judge in right, you have Jason Dominguez in center, and you have Cody Bellinger in left.
And you're depending on, and you have Volpe would be a third-year player. Wells behind the plate catching would be a second-year player. And Dominguez, for all intensive purposes, he's a rookie. So you have three young players out of your 8 position players, 3 very young players out of your 8 position players in the starting lineup. And we'll see what happens with third base. But they're going to need somebody that could really play some defense and hit for some power over there.
Yeah, they'll still have to shore up those corner infield positions, the first base and third base. But not signing Juan Soto allows the Yankees, as we talked about last week, and as I came back down to earth, allows the Yankees to have some wiggle room to make some moves, trade some guys, sign some free agents. So there's a few names that have been circulating. I mentioned Alex Bregman last week from the Astros, a few others that could be in the mix. But I'm okay now. And the Yankees, hey, if you've got a legitimate starting rotation and then a great bullpen, that is half the battle, and that can get you pretty far. And a lot of teams can win that way. So I like what I'm seeing out of the Yankees front office.
It only took a week for you to. Matter of fact, I think the day after you went crazy, they signed Fried. And don't forget, they also re-signed Loizaga, who missed all of last year. And when he's with elbow surgery, when he's healthy, he's as good as there is a relief pitcher. But he's always hurt. So hopefully with this surgery, maybe that will be behind him, and sometime late April or May, he can join the bullpen. And, man, you could have a really dominant strikeout bullpen.
I think Brian Cashman watched the episode. last week and then said, whoa, Swebb is really fired up here. If I don't make some moves, she's out. So you're welcome, Yankees fans. And it's been good. He heard me. He's a long-time listener. And here we go. We've got a legitimate number 2 starting pitcher in the rotation.
Yep.
So, few things to cover before we jump into the Knicks. The Jets won on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I didn't watch the game, so that was a good idea on my part. You know, who wants to watch the New York Jets versus the Jacksonville Jaguars?
So the
only thing that could be worse than that is the New York Jets versus the New York Giants.
I missed a little bit of the first quarter, and I watched the rest of the game, Swebb.
Well, I'm happy for you. I watched a lot of women's college volleyball. There was tons of action this past week, which I think also helped lift my spirits. The Final Four is set. We've got the Pittsburgh Panthers, we've got the Louisville Cardinals, we've got the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and we've got, who's the 4th team? Pittsburgh, Nebraska,
Wisconsin.
Penn State Nittany Lions. So
yeah.
all number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four. They'll play the semifinals on Thursday, and then the finals on Sunday. So some good action there.
I saw some of that Louisville game, that Louisville match.
Louisville versus Stanford.
Yep.
That
really exciting, and the teamwork and the camaraderie in women's college sports is really tremendous. Really tremendous.
And tons of athleticism.
Yep.
It doesn't look like it because they're all pretty much really tall on the court, but a lot of the girls on the court are 6'1" to 6'4".
Right.
I unfortunately missed the matches on Saturday. I had to go to brunch.
You went to brunch?
I went to brunch. You
went to eat instead of watching a sport that you love.
So listen to this. It was my friend's birthday is coming up. She wanted to do brunch. It had been organized by another friend. There was talk of, we had 8 people. There was talk of the table not being big enough. The table could comfortably fit 7, but we'd have to squeeze in 8. So we're like, okay, we'll be fine. You know, this is where she wants to go. This place looks nice. We'll go. We get there. We're waiting for the table. 5 minutes in, the fuse went. And half the restaurant lost power. So this is like a retro-looking restaurant. They had Christmas decorations everywhere. They had all these old-school TVs. I'm like, you guys, the music was bumping. It also happened to be what they call SantaCon in New York City, where a lot of kids go out dressed as Santa and they just go bar hopping. So there were people everywhere.
Kids are going bar hopping?
When I say kids, I'm talking about people in their early 20s.
Oh, those are kids to you now?
Yes. Sadly, those are now kids to me. So we go to this place. Music is bumping. There are neon lights, disco balls. The place is packed. The fuse goes. Half the place no longer has power. We sit down. We cram into this table. There are 5 of us. It's about the size of a cocktail table. I'm like, how are we even all going to eat? Like, we're going to have to take turns eating. So there's 5 of us in the booth, 3 people on stools. They serve us our first round of drinks, and they're kind of like, you can tell that this poor waitress was not made for the moment, because she just kind of disappeared and looked scared for the rest of the day. So we're waiting there for about an hour. Haven't put in a breakfast order. So now we're like, guys, we can go somewhere else. Let's just figure out where to go. But of course, 8 people, it's not very easy to get a table places on a Saturday afternoon.
I can tell you a place you could have gotten a table for 8. McDonald's.
Where?
And it would have saved a lot of money, too.
Not really. Not these days with these prices. Okay? So we wait, and she comes back. She says, okay, I can take your order in 5 minutes. And at this point, we're already like, I don't know. We might not even be able to get everything that's on the menu. So she comes back in about 10 minutes. She says, I'm not going to lie to you. I can take your order, but it's going to take a really long time for the food to come out. We said, well, how long? She says, I don't know. This girl, poor girl, she probably quit at the end of the day on Saturday. She comes back 10 minutes later. She says, we actually can't take any food orders. So I had to go to a Christmas party for a family in my church. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get a bagel across the street and I'll see you guys later. So I ended up missing the matches. One, because there was no power in the place. Oh, when I got there, ESPN was on, but then obviously the TVs didn't work. And I didn't even eat in that place. So no brunch.
That's tough, Swebb. See, these fancy places, see what happens? Places
I wouldn't even call it that fancy.
That never happens
East
to
Village.
the place.
It wasn't that fancy.
That never happens to the places I go to, Swebb.
Well, sometimes you want to let other people plan the day, and
that's what happens when you don't take control, Swebb.
Trust me, I plan enough. You know what? This is every once in a while. It's good for one of these things to happen so that people remember that only certain people should be allowed to plan things, because when other people get the chance to plan things, it doesn't go well.
I know the feeling.
So, long story short,
I know the feeling.
I missed the Saturday volleyball matches.
That's tough.
So, and I also missed the Heisman Award.
Oh, that was good.
Ceremony. Travis Hunter from Colorado, 2A player, wins the Heisman. Had around 2,200 votes. Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback, finished fourth, but on Monday was named first-team All-American for college football. So I'll watch the Pop-Tart Bowl. The trophy looks great, but to me, we're fully into basketball season, both NBA and college basketball.
Yes, we are.
So let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks win on Sunday early evening against the Orlando Magic, giving the Orlando Magic their first loss at home. They won 100-91. 22 points, 22 rebounds, and 5 assists from Karl-Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson put up 31 and also had 5 assists. Not a bad day at the office, at the Orlando office, Dad.
No, they played well, and Towns 22 rebounds, 22 points. Now, to be fair, Orlando's missing their 2 best players. They're out with injuries, and they're going to be out for quite a while. So that will probably short-circuit their season.
You're right, but they are still, I believe it's like 14-11.
Yeah.
And the Knicks are the 3 seed in the East right now. Orlando's the 4 seed, and they hadn't lost a game at home until Sunday night.
The Knicks are still missing a little something. They did lose that game to Atlanta at Madison Square Garden a few days prior. And then Trae Young kind of abused them after the game. We'll see what happens. They're going to have to get even with him. That guy has a big mouth.
Is a big mouth, but the team is irrelevant. So, listen, the Knicks.
They're not that irrelevant. They have some good young players on that team, Swebb. They have some
good young players. Listen, the Knicks are a legitimate team. They have a legitimate 8-man rotation, and this is before Mitchell Robinson comes back, which he should be back in a few weeks. Right now, we're getting into 2025 here, so he should be back. But with Precious Achiuwa coming back, you're seeing all of the starters averaging 14 points or higher. Karl-Anthony Towns averaging 24 points, 13 rebounds. Jalen Brunson averaging 25 points. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges both averaging 17 points. You're getting some legitimate production from Miles McBride, Campaign off the bench. Achiuwa has only played in 5 games, but he's averaging 5 or 6 rebounds a game. Yep. So in the limited minutes that he has, he's still he's still having a presence.
Yeah, he's helped a lot.
He's also playing some legitimate defense when he comes in.
Mm-hmm. He's helped a lot. And he's experienced.
And I know you did say that you're a Karl-Anthony Towns fan after seeing him
Right.
shoot free throws a
Right.
few weeks ago after a game where he had missed a few.
Right.
This guy must have had the worst PR known to man because he was known as soft. People weren't really interested in the trade. How could we trade away Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for this guy? All I'm seeing is a guy who puts up 25 and 13 a game and has been very physical, and he's been a great team player. So I don't know where this narrative about Karl-Anthony Towns came up. I know we're only a quarter of the way through the season, but from everything that I'm seeing, he's one heck of a player.
I promise not to say anything negative about the guy for the rest of the season. You want me to tell you where it's coming from?
Where?
Did you see the Atlanta game, which was like a playoff game? The knocks against him is in big games, playoff games. He gets into foul trouble. He'll take some crazy shots, and he gets kind of distracted. That's the knock. And the day after that Atlanta game, there was a whole article. I think it might have been on CBS Sports. I can't remember where I saw it. And they gave all the reasons why people knocked him in the past. Yes, game to game to game all season, tremendous. All-star, all-NBA player. But in some of the big playoff games, when things get tight and things are different, he's going to have to overcome that. Maybe this coach can help him overcome that.
So he needs to develop into a big-time player.
Right. But the big-time players show up in the big-time games. So hopefully he didn't disappear. He just got in foul trouble, and then everything gets kind of – then he has to be on the bench a lot during those games. We need him on the court.
Is that an area where he can improve?
Yeah.
In your opinion?
With a coach like we have, very possibly. Very possibly. But that is something that he's going to have to think. But those are some of the knocks against Randall. But he's, in all fairness to him, he was hurt in these plays. You know, people don't understand how hard it is. This is hard. This is hard. When we were at the Maui Invitational and we're sitting in the second row right under the basket, this is not, and that was college basketball. This is not easy stuff.
And when you're playing on a Tom Thibodeau team and he's only rolling out 7 guys, it's even harder. The thing that I am enjoying seeing when watching Karl-Anthony Towns is, like, he wants to be here. This guy has purchased every Knicks branded piece of apparel that one could own.
He's New Jersey. He grew up in New Jersey. Probably grew up a Knicks fan.
Right.
He's a Yankee fan.
He loves it here.
Right.
So when we talk about different players, right, Juan Soto, he didn't want to be here. Great. He's rich. Good luck with the Mets. Good luck in Queens. Karl-Anthony Towns, there's a difference when a guy really wants to be someplace.
Right. See, Soto had he's been on 4 teams. He's had no attachment or loyalty to a team, so he went for the most money, which the Players Union wants these guys to take the biggest contract to get the salaries boosted. Judge, he took less money. There were 2 teams that outbid the Yankees, but he grew up in the Yankee organization. He had played for the team for 6-7 years. He was more vested, and he had a loyalty to the team, to the fans, and so forth. Soto, he was with Washington. He was with San Diego. He was then with the Yankees for a year. He had no attachment. This was just like, oh, this is another team. I'm a good ball player. Let me play baseball. Now he's going to be with the Mets for 15 years. But I think he has some opt-outs in that thing, so we'll see.
Yeah, he has opt-outs after 5, so we'll see what happens when he's 31.
Right.
But I also think you can fall in love with the place. If they treat you really well, if the fan base is good, if the team is winning. So I get it. You didn't necessarily grow up in the organization, or you're not from New York. you didn't grow up rooting for the Yankees maybe, or you didn't grow up rooting for a team, but you can fall in love with the place if you're getting treated right. So what's done is done. We've moved on. The Yankees are making moves to shore up their roster, and they have the money to do it. As it pertains to the Knicks, yes, Karl-Anthony Towns could be better in big-time situations. To your point, with the right coaching and with a coach as strict as Tom Thibodeau, there can be some improvement, and I think guys can always improve. What I am very impressed by is the fact that he is a great shooter, both behind the three-point line and close to the basket, also great at the free throw line, and he seems to be everywhere, gobbling up every rebound. And this is a team that can rebound. You got a lot of guys on the roster that can grab boards. So the Knicks this week, they go out to Minnesota to play their former teammates, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. Obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns will be back in Minnesota. So I'm interested to see how that game goes on Thursday. And it's a winnable game. Minnesota hasn't gotten off to the start that I think people would have thought. When we first started talking about the beginning of the season, we thought that they had a chance to be a legitimate contender for the Western Conference. But there's obviously different emotions when you go back to a place that you grew up, that you got drafted by and you're playing, or when you face a team that you had played with for a few years and enjoyed your time. There are going to be different emotions, and certainly people show up to play the Knicks no matter who it is. But I think this game is going to have a little bit of extra buzz.
Oh, yeah. Randall's going to be pumped up, and he's going to be on his home court, his new home court. So, he's going to be pumped up. Dante has had a hard time.
Dante's going to be pumped up.
He's going to be pumped up, but he's had a hard time fitting in with that team. And they have a point guard situation. That's why their record isn't better. They have an old point guard, Conley, and that's why their record hasn't been as good as anybody expected. The team in the West that's good.
Hyden's going to be pumped up.
Who? Who's that?
Hyden Randall.
Oh, yeah.
Julius' son.
Oh, he'll probably be at the game. Be nice seeing that kid.
Yeah. So, and then on Saturday, the Knicks play. Where do they go on Saturday? They go and play New Orleans, who's 5-22. So, a week where they only have 2 games and 2 winnable games.
Yep, and New Orleans has big problems, and now there's rumors that Zion Williams is going to be on the trade block. The guy never plays. He's hurt all the time. He's hurt right now. He never plays. I don't know who would want to take him. And he makes over $200 million. Right. I don't know why anybody would want to take him.
Well, so I'm expecting a pretty good week from the Knicks. Now, we've got some other exciting things happening this week, Dad, because UNC, they play on Tuesday in Charlotte against Florida, 10-0 team. So we'll see how things go there. That's going to be tough. But then on Saturday, they're coming up to New York to play at MSG against UCLA, and you and I are going to be at the game.
Good deal. Good deal.
Well, we'll see after we get the results. We'll check back in after the game.
Good deal. It's a doubleheader. Carolina plays UCLA at 3 p.m., and then in the second game, Kentucky and Ohio State play.
And we've been to this, they call it the CBS Sports Classic. We've been a few times, both at MSG and also at Barclays Center. Always great to get 4 powerhouse teams playing in a doubleheader. But the UNC is going to have their hands full.
Yeah, no kidding. Because UCLA, I think, has lost 1 or 2 games.
And Florida's undefeated.
Well, maybe they lost 1 game. I think they're undefeated.
Florida's 10-0.
And they got a lot of size, and Carolina has very little size. I don't know, Swebb. I might have to put a uniform on. Body some people around the boards.
You might be crying the next time we talk on camera, the way I was last week.
No. Swebb, I know how this stuff works.
Yeah, it's going to be a long season for Carolina. Is the way that it's working.
They looked good last Saturday. They looked good last Saturday. Did you see that game?
Playing LaSalle.
Hey, you got to take your wins where you can get them.
It's come to that. So anything else that you're looking forward to this week or next week?
Well, I'm looking forward to going to the game with you, and that should be fun. And then we got Christmas the week after.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to getting a free meal from you on Saturday. We all know I love Christmas. The place has been decorated since November, and we're going to spend some time together. We're not going to record because we're just going to spend some quality time together, you know?
Now, you said a free meal. What were you
I'll pick the place.
No. They got great concession stands at Madison Square Garden. I don't like when you pick restaurants.
Well, I got the tickets.
Okay. Well, I'll buy you a hamburger at the concession stand at Madison Square Garden.
Sometimes those hamburgers are undercooked.
Don't you like it a little juicy, Swebb?
No, I don't want it bleeding. We'll figure things out.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we sign off, would you like to leave us with a tip of the day? A tip of the week. Sorry, Dad tip of the week.
You know how Swebb missed some very good games that she wanted to see on Saturday because she was hanging out with friends who picked a restaurant and then the lights went out. If you're going to hang out with friends, you pick the place. But do a little research online before you do. Check the menu. See, I never walk into a restaurant unless I've checked the menu already, Swebb.
I checked the menu and I did research.
Were you happy with the prices in the menu?
Yeah, the prices weren't bad. I was going to get a bacon, egg, and cheese. No one could have planned for the fuse going out. But the menu looked good. I'll never know because I probably won't be back at that place. But sometimes you got to be careful about who you put in charge of things.
That's true.
It's really the tip.
That's true. Now, one more thing, Swebb. When you decide, when you're going to do something with some friends, look at your sports schedules first. And schedule these things away from Are your friends into these sports?
No, that's the problem.
See, that's another problem.
You know how many
don't pick friends that aren't into sports. Blow those people off. What were you doing hanging out with people that aren't into sports?
When you've got 15 sports going, I have no ties to women's college volleyball, and I have no ties to Nebraska, Penn State, Louisville.
Yeah, but you talk about that stuff all the time. You like that stuff.
In Pittsburgh. But I like the sport. I recorded the matches, and I did actually watch the Pittsburgh match they played. And so it was Pittsburgh versus Kentucky. The problem is I have so many sports going on that there isn't enough time. Like, I missed the Man City match on Sunday because I was at church. The Lord comes first, Dad. The Lord comes first. And you know what? I'm glad that I missed the match because they lost in the 89th or 90th minute. Okay? So there isn't enough time. When you've got matches and teams, there isn't enough time. All right? I didn't even take a nap on Sunday afternoon. And I skipped the Jets game because I was watching women's college volleyball. So here's
did you tape the Jets game?
Many teams,
I watch things and then I tape other stuff.
I'm not taping things that I know are going to be garbage. Like that doesn't deserve a spot on my DVR. So that's the thing. When you have as many interests as I have, when you're as multifaceted as I am, you got to make sacrifices.
I got you, Swebb.
Stay well-rounded, Dad.
Okay.
That's my tip.
I am well-rounded, Swebb.
Yes, you are. We'll see if I can throw you over my shoulder next week so we can go for a walk. Yeah. Walk off some Christmas turkey.
We'll get that on tape, Swebb.
Okay. Well, that's it for this week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. Subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and share this episode with a friend, and we will see you soon.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.